Friends, it's Terri Gaines, independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. In this video tutorial, I'm going to share some cards I created with my Marbled Elegance Card Kit. Before I give you all the details on the cards, I'm going to share what the materials are in the card kit. There are two designer series paper pieces. They are 3 inches by 6, and these are the Marbled Elegance specialty paper. It is absolutely beautiful. It's 12 by 12 in size. You get 2 each of these 6 double-sided designs. One side has a beautiful marble design with gold foil, and the other side has a great background. I have been creating several projects recently with this paper. Absolutely love it. It can be used for so many different occasions. And in the packet, there is one print that has colors that go with the melon mambo, and there's another print that goes with the real red exclusive Stampin' Up colors. Speaking of those two colors, you have a card base for each one of those colors. So when you create with your packet, you're going to need to decide which designer series paper you want to go with the melon mambo and which one you want to go with the real red. These are already cut to be 8.5 by 5.5, so they're a card base size already for you. There is also an 8.5 by 5.5 basic white. This is intended to be for your inside sentiment. Also, you have 2 of Stampin' Up's envelopes. These are wonderful envelopes. They're very nice quality. You're going to love those. My intent is for you to make your cards and send them to family or friends. Also, you have decorative images in your packet. So in the packet, you have some decorative images that are cut from the basic white and then the gold foil paper. So let me share more details about these decorative images. First of all, I want to mention that the Marbled Elegance paper is part of the new online exclusives products that were introduced on November 5th. It's the specialty paper. I'm also using the dies that are in that same suite of product. With the suite of product, if everything's available, and in this suite you have designer series paper, a stamp set, the dies, which are bundled for 10% savings, some cord, gold cord, beautiful adhesive back heart sequence, and some gift bags. One code number will get you all of those products, or you can purchase them individually. So back to the dies. These dies, I use this die right here that creates this beautiful stitch design. I cut that out of the gold foil. Then I use a new product that's in the January through April 2025 mini catalog. As demonstrators, we can pre-order this product. And I purchased a bundle in there that is amazing. I'm only using the dies, and let me talk a little bit about the dies. It is a hybrid folder dies, which means with the dies, you're going to get the embossing folder. It's one code that's giving you both of them. You cannot purchase the folder all by itself. You're going to get both the dies and the folder. So also there's a stamp set, and if you get the bundle, you're going to get the stamp set, the folder, and the dies. So let's talk about the stamp set. You get several images, sentiments. You get a couple images that will help you stamp the butterfly. You get these images that have dies to cut them out. This die will cut out that stamped image. What you can also do is cut out basic white, and this die, you can layer that onto this die, and then you have this to do this. You can do the same with these small 2 labels. So in your packet, in your packet, or in the packet, there are these 2 labels. There is this cut out of gold foil. I do want to let you know, I put adhesive sheets behind it. When you put adhesive sheet behind your gold foil, before you cut it out, when you cut it out, then you have a backing on there, and then you have adhesive. So you need to do that before you cut it out if you want to duplicate my projects. And then back to this, I have that in basic white. So those are the elements here. But since I'm talking about this, I want to share some more details. I mentioned it's a hybrid folder. So the same die that you can cut out the stamped image and that butterfly, you can put that die in the folder. Put it on the logoed side, put the cutting side up, and place it until you feel that it is not shifting. You find that right place it's going to be. Put your cardstock in here, close it, run that through your die cutting machine, and you are going to get this embossed butterfly cut out. Now, if you don't put the die in there, you're going to get an embossed piece of cardstock. These are absolutely amazing. Love the hybrid folders. Plus, there's a bonus die in here. This die is also amazing. It is going to cut out this butterfly, and it does not cut the top off. It keeps a fold there. So there's a line on the front of the die. That's where you line up your score line. So what I did for this is just a sample I'm playing around with. I made a note card size. I placed this right on the score line, ran that through my machine, and it cuts that much out. So then you can trim this off. Then you have this really cute butterfly you can decorate. You can even add these images to the top, trim this off. Possibilities are endless. Now, if you fold your cardstock and line those lines up to that score or to the card base, run that through your die cutting machine, you're going to get a butterfly card like this. So many possibilities. So I wanted to give you a little tip on all of that. Now, that is not going to be available for customers until, let me look at the date, it's early January. It's going to be available to you to purchase January 7th. So that's where I got all of these images from. So now you know what's in the packet. So I do want to quickly share, if you have placed a $100 order with me in the year 2024, I have mailed you one of these packets. And if you're on my Inking of You team, I am mailing you a packet also. Now, the beauty of the packet is you can create whatever you want with this packet, but I'm going to share some cards and how I created them. You do need your own stamps and ink. So I am going to be using a Simply Said, or stamp set called Simply Said for my outside sentiments. I'm going to use a stamp set called Heartfelt Hexagon for my inside sentiments. Now, this is on the last chance list, which means when they sell this stamp set out, it's no longer going to be available. As of last night, it was still available at a reduced price, an amazing price for that stamp set. So I have pre-stamped all of the items that I need, so I'm going to move that out of the view. You are going to need a paper cutter or a paper trimmer to cut your cardstock. You do need your own adhesive. I'm going to be using my Stampin' Seal, mini glue dots, and dimensionals. I have my silicone craft mat handy, my take your pick tool, and my bone folder. So the first, and then so I'm going to move the envelopes out of the way. So the first cards I'm going to create, I'm going to cut my basic white for the inside. I'm going to cut this at 5 1/4 by 4. So I make my first cut at 5 1/4, and then I make my next cut at 4. So I'm going to cut these two for the inside of the two cards I'm going to be creating. So you only have a little bit of extra left over. You can save that for a future sentiment if you want. And then the designer series paper for both of these cards is going to be, I have measurements right here, 3 by 5 1/4. So I just cut the basic white layer to be 4, 2 of them to be 4 by 5 1/4. Now I'm going to cut the designer series paper. It's 6 inches in the packet, and if you purchase the packet, it's 12 by 12. This is 3 inches wide. You can get 4 across, 6 inches in height. You can get 2 down, so you can get 8 of these per sheet. Now what you need to do is decide which end you're going to cut. I'm going to cut this end, and it's always a tough decision because you don't even want to cut any of it, but I need to cut that down to fit on the card base. And while I have the paper trimmer out, I'm going to cut this one also, the same measurement. So I'm using these measurements right here. Now I do have a PDF that you can access with these measurements, and I hope I cut that, yeah. Startled for a moment that I didn't cut that at the right measurement. Now, if you choose to, you can use your paper trimmer and score your card bases. They're scored at 4 1/4. A lot of times I just use my bone folder, but since I have my paper trimmer here, I'm going to use a scoring blade and score both of these card bases at 4 1/4. So I'm marking right here, pushing up against that wall, and then scoring. So I'm going to move this out of the way. Now, I did share with you for this tutorial, I have done some of the work ahead of time. I've done all my stamping. So once I have these two cut, I'm going to stamp the inside. Now for the Melon Mambo card, I'm using basic gray for my ink color. That's a wonderful color to use. That's very neutral for every project. I could have used that for my Real Red card base, but I'm going to use Real Red ink. So I'm replacing these two with the two that I've already stamped, and I've already stamped the labels. I used the Simply Said stamp set. I stamped Happy Birthday for this card, and I trimmed off the end of it because I'm going to go flush to the card. And then I stamped Miss You for this one in Real Red, and I trimmed that off. I'm going to go right to the edge of the card, so I want to trim those off. But the beauty of paper crafting, you can create these in any way that you would like to. So let's assemble this one first. So what I'm going to do is fold my card base, and I'm going to take my bone folder and crease that. I'm going to go ahead and insert the inside of the card. So this one is cut from the basic white. You can get 2 of these per card base. So I have that on the inside. On the outside, I'm going to put this. Now I also make the decision, do I want it this way or do I want it this way? Now my heart design is going to go over here, so I'm going to have this white space here. Keeping in mind, your packet has 1 of 8 different sections of that paper. So you might have a completely different marbleized packet or marbleized design in your packet. So I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal. Put adhesive on here, and as I mentioned, I'm going to have this one go right to here and have my white space here. Now you have the option to attach these with dimensionals or your regular adhesive. I'm going to use my regular adhesive or my double-sided adhesive and keep these flat. Dimensionals work great. You definitely can do that. And as I mentioned, I'm going to cover up this white area here. And with any of these designs, you can choose where you put the heart. It is an optional. Now I'm going to take my sentiment and use my Stampin' Seal on the back of that. And I'm going to have that flush to this edge. And that's going to be my first card. Now my second card is with the rest of the materials. I'm going to fold my card base, crease this. I'm going to put my adhesive on the back of this. Now you can assemble this in any fashion that you want. I actually believe my written instructions say I decorate the front first and then the inside, but in this video I'm doing it the opposite. Now for this one, when I assemble this one, I'm going to put it towards the fold, just like I did for this one. Now, as I mentioned, you can place this anywhere you want on your card. And I am going to actually think this through. I'm not sure. I think I'll just put it on like this. And we'll just put it on like that. It's really a toss-up. And when I say this on the top, or this on the top. It's a personal decision, and there's no wrong way to do this. So now I have that. Now I'm going to put these elements on. Now this does not have adhesive sheet on the back, and I'm choosing just to put adhesive right here. Now if you want, you can use a multi-purpose liquid glue. I'm actually going to use mini glue dots. I have a love-hate relationship with that mini liquid glue. I tend to always put too much on, and then I'm trying to clean it up. So I just need to work with it a little bit more. But you use your favorite adhesive. I'm actually going to take 2 mini glue dots and place them right in the back of this butterfly, just on that portion of it. And then I'm going to place this on my card base. So I'm going to place this one up. I have in the past for the cards that I photographed for the PDF, I have it down with a happy birthday here. But for this one, I'm going to go the opposite. And again, I'm just going to use my regular adhesive and place this along the edge and put this right down here. Now this has adhesive on the back. I told you I put adhesive sheet behind that before I cut it out, and that's going to allow you to peel that off, and then you can place that right down, and that will be, and then these can come up like that. So this is two of the designs that I created with this packet. And let me show you, if you reverse the colors, here's an idea using this layout and the butterfly. And as I mentioned, the happy birthday is on the top. And then this color, I use the heart instead. So the beauty of this is you can create these in any fashion that you would like. So I'm going to set those aside. And I have a second card idea for you. I actually have two more card ideas for you. So this card idea is cutting the card base. And I did this prep work ahead of time. So I cut the card base to be 7.5, and it is already at 5.5, and I scored it at 4 1/4. So this is going to be folded like this. This is just a fun fold, simple fun fold. The basic white I'm going to talk about first is 4 by 5 1/4. This was cut from the basic white card base in the packet. You can get 2 of these per that card base. Now what I'm going to do is adhere this first into the inside of the card. I'm looking for equal spacing on the top, the edge, and the bottom. I don't worry about the inside because that camouflages right into this panel. And then when I stamp this sentiment, it's important to shift everything to the left, because when you close the card, you're going to see this. So when you write on the inside of the card, just be aware that you just want to sign over here to avoid getting anything visible when you close the card. Now this is the designer series paper I'm going to put on here. I'm embellishing it with the heart. So I'm going to keep the white down here and put the heart here. Now yours might not be the same piece. So as I mentioned earlier, you are going to decide how you want to place it and how you want to embellish this. So now what I want to do is I kind of want to look at all sides at the same time. So I'm really looking at everything here, and I'm also looking to make sure I get an attempt to make it flush right here or even there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this with dimensionals right here. Now I do have a trick when you do use dimensionals, and actually any adhesive. We don't want any adhesive on this section that's hanging over. So what I do is I put my dimensionals on the panel. So I know it's not going to hang over. I do not put any dimensionals on that side. I just put one over on this side. I know it's going to be on the card base over here, so we're safe to have no exposed adhesive. The take your pick tool works great to get those backings off. Now what I can do is just place this. My only concern now is to hide those dimensionals. You really have a lot of freedom to where you place this, and I'm going to have that hang over a little bit like that. Now what I'm going to do is have this over like this. Now I'm going to have it flush to the heart, and I need a dimensional on this back side. So what I'm going to do is put my adhesive on half of it and a dimensional on that section of it. So I'll take the backing off of that, and now what I can do is place this right like this. So this is another card idea, and here is the same layout using the other product in the packet, the other banner, the butterfly, and the other colors. So the very same card, just the different papers and embellishments. So that's another option. And my third card sample I have is kind of more of a fun fold. So for this one, I do have everything pre-cut and pre-scored. So the designer series paper was 3 by 6. I cut it to be 5.5. I have the basic white layer at 3 1/4 by 5 1/4, and I stamped right in the center. You can get 2 of these per that white card base, and then you have a 2 by 5.5 inch strip left over. For the card base, I scored this at 1 1/2 and at 4 1/4. So you're going to make a mountain fold and a valley fold with those score lines. And then you're going to crease that with your bone folder. Now what I'm going to do is adhere this onto the card, and it's only going to be adhered right here. So what I'm going to do is put my adhesive on this panel. Now the card base height and this height are identical in height. So I'm going to bring my paper trimmer back in to help me align this. What I like to do is use my paper trimmer or my Simply scoring tool to push up my card base up against that wall. Then I can take this. Now I do need to decide. I think I'll put it, I'm trying to decide what rotation. Now this is the same height, so I'm going to hold this adhesive panel down, put this up against the wall. I'm going to look for equal spacing on both sides of the card. You can flex this designer series paper so you don't hit that adhesive. I got my equal spacing, and then I'm going to go down and let it hit or adhere to that panel. So it's adhering just to that 1 1/2 inch panel. And this is a simple fun fold I think you're going to love. Now I already shared that this is 3 1/4, and I made it smaller so it tucks in here and we still have this cardstock visible. I did not want the white to be there. I wanted that to be shorter, so that's why you have the shorter measurements. And in my instructions, I believe I say I put this on last or second after I decorate it, but it might be an option to put on first. That way you can visually see that you're covering that up. But if you follow my measurements, put equal spacing on both sides and cut this to this size, you'll be safe. Now to embellish this, I'm going to add the butterfly. So let's get the mini glue dots back out. I have mini glue dots here that I'm going to attach to the back. And as I mentioned already, you can use whatever adhesive works best for you. These mini glue dots are really strong, and you can fold them to fit the space you need. So I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to just put this right in the center. I'm going to put it up here. I'm going to make it straight, have those butterfly wings go equal on both edges here, and adhere that down. This has adhesive on the back already. Love the adhesive sheets for these smaller die cut images. Now you can just place that, whoops, right there. Apply the adhesive. Now those wings will come up like that. Now what I'm going to do is attach this, and it's going to go right across here. It's going to hang over a little bit on both sides. So when I put my adhesive on here, I want to be aware of that. I don't want to go right to the edge of either end. I'm going to stay in the center, and then I can equally line that up. And there I have a card, and it stands and displays really, really nicely. And here's the same card layout using the other products in that card kit. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I do want to thank everybody who has placed an order with me the year 2024, and everybody who's on my team. I appreciate all of you. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Thanks again, take care, and happy creating.